Hey guys, it's Rick. Sure is a hot one down here in the Keys. Of course, it's cooling down just a little bit. I have this blue tarp, like if you were to go out and do some kind of an art show on the street. I got one of those, like it's almost like 20 feet. Yeah, it's about, a little bigger than 10 feet. And it's dark blue. And the sunlight hits down on it, and after a certain spot up here, you can just feel the heat. It's awful. Well, anyways, I'm out here. I could be painting inside with the air conditioning and all, but I'm painting this giant picture over here to the side. See if I can show it to you later. But whilst I've been painting over there, I've had in the background going a video, what do you call that? The Quran. I've been listening to the Quran from the beginning. I've gotten well into like 6-7 hours of it, or 8 hours, and I just got tired because it kept repeating itself in a lot of ways, and I was thinking, what is this? Is this for real? Because after a while you kept hearing the same sloth of, that kept on going and going, and then it was like, hey, I've heard this like 6 different times in segues between these stories. But listen, man, I'm catching on to it. I'm catching on. I mean, it may be beautifully written, the words and stuff like that of the Islamic language or the Islamic world is, it's just beautiful. Or the Muslims, it's beautiful. But, with my mind as it is right now, and I think would be for anyone who had listened to stuff like this, you would know that this was not anything like the Old and the New Testament at all. This person, because basically the Old and the New Testament was found. Yes, found, but in the Bible, at the beginning of the Bible, there's this Ezra, all right? Ezra was the one who was told by a Persian king, and this would have been Cyrus, to rewrite the books of Moses and take them out to Jerusalem and give this to these Jews, these wandering Jewish people, and make them force it on them. And Artaxerxes, these are these names. I can't believe I'm pulling them out of the thin air. Was another Persian king. They worshipped this thing called an Ahura Mazda back then. They don't do that right now. They worship an Allah, but back then it was this Ahura Mazda. They're the ones that that created the temple. Was ordered by their god, the Ahura Mazda, not from Jehovah or anyone like that has to do anything with the Jewish people. It was a Persian god they called an Ahura Mazda. It's just very interesting. They had their own Messiah-like person, the prophet, like Jesus Christ, but this was a guy named Zoroaster, all right? And, if you really want to throw in some funness in this here, but he would have been one of the chief magi's that found Jesus, because the magi was a magician, but not just that. They were astrologers. They watched the stars, and this is where we would show up in mythology, all right? Let's not say about realness, but this is what we're getting out of this book here. Muhammad had already lived his life. He was in his later life, his later 40s or 50s, and he used to go up to this mountain, and he had some kind of weirdness happen one day, and he came down and told his wife, hey, he's going to think I'm crazy, but I just got talked to by God up there. So while he goes up in there, he's almost sure that God is talking to him, and then an angel comes and speaks to him. Angel Gabriel comes and speaks to him and tells him all of this stuff and shows him later on about this book. And of what I've been listening to all night and all day long, you could kind of get you get this feeling of you have got to believe in Allah. over all of the messages in that book is if you don't, you're going to get it. And there is like no mercy. There was even this, on our side, there's this, I'm going to say our side, on the flip side of things, which is the Bible on the surface. On the other side, how many times can you forgive somebody of their sins? And it's 7 times 70, or 7 times 700 or something like that, 7 times 70, which is like forever, 70 times 70. And it's just like, on this side, there's none. All right, so it also says that it is the religion of the people, and it is written by Muhammad. Muhammad was not an angel. I mean, not an angel by any means. The idea he fucked some girl when she was like 9 years old or something like that, or married when she was 9. I think the numbers get mixed up but it was still the idea that she was pretty young when it all happened, and he was pretty old when it all happened. But they don't hold that against him. Some people do, but the sex in our Bible is a little bit strange too. Except this is a real man. All right, so you would put him up there with like that Crawley guy, and who else? There's some guy here. I wrote his name down. Anton LaVey. These are guys that created like cults for Satan. And you got Scientology. Who is that? L. Ron Hubbard. And the Mormons was Joseph Smith. So these are people that invent religions, and Muhammad invented this. And it just happened to be timely for them because these Christians and these Jewish people, which, believe it or not, is where these people come from. They started all of this. This is the way it shows in the Bible. It says that they started this whole thing up. I mean, if you really want to read in it, it's in Ezra. All right, it's the beginning of the Bible. Whenever it wasn't God, it wasn't Elohim, it was a Ahura Mazda, a type of God that ordered the rebuilding of the church, of the Solomon's temple. He also ordered for the refurbishing of the law through Ezra. So you see, this is this outside influence, and then when you read and listen to this book, it keeps saying stuff like, "We were there. Remember, we were there when Adam did such and such a thing, and his wife turns back on him. That we forgive this for this, but this eternal sin." Or it goes on with let's say something more like I would understand. It would say they gave Moses some kind of a lecture during the 40 days, 40 nights, or the 40 days in the deserts. Do you know that the distance where they had to go from Egypt to this promised land was like 300 miles, something like that. And they were out there 40 years trying to get to that other side. That's where they get the wandering out of it. The idea is it doesn't have anything to do with people or real people. It talks about is your fourfold nature. It has to do with you had to go through this to get there. And this was the world that you were in at that time. They were complaining in the story, "Oh, I wish that we were still back in Egypt. At least we would be starved to death, They'd be beating the fuck out of us, but they'd still love us. I mean, they would still feed us, So anyways, Muhammad is in this place where he's looking at religion that has fallen before them. He's going to clean it all up. I'm the last one of them all. I'm the last prophet. I'm not God. I'm not any of these things. I just was chosen by Allah. And just happened to be backed by 40 people at first. People were running by and pissing on them. They were doing things from the outside of the Bible. It is so apparent in the reading of this Bible that there are legitimate pieces of scripture in there. Who knows where they came from? Just a little bit of slight change of hand here and there, and because it doesn't continue on, but you can hear it. You could hear, So that and then there's some really beautiful things, and you say, wow, that's pretty cool. And you could hear that it had some of that knowledge in it. But then it would go on next door to it to explain what it meant, and it was like, and you're going to be killed, and if you run across someone like this, you should just kill them all. This is what Allah would like, But it was like talking about transgressors, and it just kept repeating about if you were a transgressor, that your punishment was going to be, hideous. You were going to be burned. And this is what it means when you read the outside of the Bible, when you take the letter by the letter, and that's even mentioned here sometimes, about being of the letter. They are of the letter. They talk about they are religion, they are man's religion. Our Bibles don't talk about being a religion. It talks about it being a synagogue and these Jewish people and stuff like that. You may call that a religion. Yeah, it's a religion. Those guys mixed up there. But Christians, Jesus was not Jewish, or he wasn't even Christian. I tell people that he would jump down off that cross if he knew that someone had gone and made a religion out of him. Because, that's why his whole thing was, don't give me no prophets. You don't need my Father. Can't be found in any of these places. You have to understand that all of what I teach you is more real. There's no Sarah. There's no wife of Abraham. There is no Abraham. You are Abraham. So when you read and hear the Quran, you're hearing someone who's really mad, says we. I said, who's we in this? And I kept saying he, and then when they say polytheism is when they bring a woman involved, or another or something, but woman, you can see that they're leaving her out also, altogether. It is simply cut and paste, just like these other guys. If I were to go into the Church of Scientology, I think that I would just feel really dirty when I was done with that, And with Crawley and them, I think I would just get the skin crawls and chills, There are some things you just don't need to know about. But when it comes down to this pretty much shows that what happened was he had some kind of an epiphany and was opened up to something interesting, and then later on he was encouraged to do it, because what he was doing in front of people, to pray in front of people, and this is where you got to give it in front of, and if someone beats you for it, you're doing it for the Lord, he's going to come and take care of you. That he had this kind of will and authority and integrity that some people of authority saw in a neighboring town to the north. And they asked him to, hey, you can come up here. So he was to plan some escape. And when they were trying to capture, it's like they found out he was going to escape, and he made his way out and took off out down the road, and he was led to safety. So this was like, nowadays, this is like, hey, this is when they started their calendar. This is what the beginning of everything. I think they call it something, but anyways, HIJIRA. And this was to lead an army. So he went into this new town, became a politician, got involved, brought everybody into this idea. They said, if you come up here, we'll all convert. We'll do whatever you say. I said, wow, so shit fire. So, this could be like those guys like the Guyana tragedy. Hey, I got this whole thing planned out in the middle of the wilderness. All I'm missing is a bunch of believers. And all I got to do is believe in me, Isn't that guy, remember that guy from Guyana? He said he was Jesus, and all these people came around and they killed them all. They say that was some kind of a psyop, something to do with, our government even, about what people would really go through when it comes down to believing. It becomes a very weak link in the system. Whereas, when Christianity was trying to break into places where Buddhism was the law of the land, they would hold a picture of Jesus in front of the accused believer. put it on the ground, and make them step on it. And if they couldn't step on it, they just couldn't pull themselves to step on it. There's a believer, and that motherfucker was killed. Bam! Just like that. I ain't shitting you. You know, that's how it worked. So you would find that that's how they would search for these people. You know, that's how they marked people from believers and not believers. Because at one time, you know, if you were showing, you know, a lot of skin on your penis, then you were one of these or one of them. And oh my God, that was it. You know, all hell broke loose from that point. But this is a neat cut and paste book. This Quran, the Quran. It's an outside's approach to things, and it certainly leaves no way out except through death. And all of their solutions to everything that goes wrong in life is to kill them. Or, you know, if you happen to be the one that does it and you're righteous, you know, and you've proven it, then all you have to do is, you know, pay for it, give a little bit of this, say sorry, you know, give repentance to the wife, you know, give some food to the children, you know, go visit the poor and meditate, not meditate, but what do they call it, and fast for 2 weeks. That'll take care of it. So this is an outside approach to things, all right? So, you know, whenever I say that they're all running, they almost have it. They got it from somewhere. But, so it sounds right, but it ain't right. It said he was there, they brought Mary together, he was there, they brought Jesus in, that Jesus didn't really die, that Jesus, they put a fake guy in there instead of Jesus. Jesus is one of their prophets, but at the same time, they're really, Allah has this thing against Israel because they killed a prophet, one of the messengers. And if you do not believe in Allah and his messenger, which would be this old man that's going around fucking the young girls, then, you know, Allah's gonna be down on you, you know? And he's down on you a lot. He's down all the time. But you can hear where they started this little countdown where, oh yeah, you're getting ready to have that fire, and then when it gets down to the fire, when it's really, you know, that's when you get, you know, the hell breaks loose and the hell's being purged out of you, and the stone comes alive in a fire and stuff like that. You know, they're saying, you know, this is for the believer, this is for the non-believer. This is for anybody who doesn't believe in Allah and Muhammad. Everyone else, you know, has, you know, this is such an outside approach to things, but that's the way Christians think it is. If you don't do this, you're not welcome into this kingdom. You know, we can shun ourselves to you. We're not going to waste any pearls on you, swine, you know. And then the Jewish people, oh my God, you know, what mean-ass motherfuckers they are. You know, they killed Christ. Listen, you know, it's still the outside running things, you know, and this one here is made up to try to, it's like a lifeline for their own selves, you know, and they're a nation within themselves, and they can just, and they're actually, their idea, to when you read and listen to it, they're out to encompass the globe. You read Christians' world, they're out to, they call it proselytize the world. Think about that word. To encompass the world in this. And it says, and when you do this, you know, it makes you into, they were like, this is where we're learning out what children of hell are. You know, which are preachers and people that are going, these soul-sucking people that are going out, oh, we're going to go out, we're going to go find some souls in Pennsylvania, you know, and kind of bring them into the group. And they say the person that does the bringing in, you know, is a child of hell. And the person they're bringing in, you know, is all like, oh, yeah, because this guy, he's just doing it. He doesn't know what he's doing either. But this guy coming in, he's thinking he's got something. They're going to save me. So he's twice the child of hell. You know, we'll work on that one. We'll work on that one, but you'll see that's how it works. But anyway, so I ain't just been sitting around painting. I've been listening, and I'm just showing you this is how it's the birth of a religion, and somebody that evidently was a good spokesman. I heard that he was illiterate. I don't think he's illiterate to be a spokesman for a town and be a politician and for people to have enjoyed and loved him so much. But he was a real person, but he had no miracles. He claims nothing from God or anything. You know, there's none of this hocus pocus business going down. But he and himself could be anybody, could be you, can be me, can be anyone who was listening at that time, and they needed somebody, you know. And they said, some girl was arguing with me. She goes, "Well, I'll listen to you if you agree with me on one thing." But, you know, of course, I couldn't say anything. It was in this question. She says, you know, like, if there wasn't a God, that we'd have to invent one, you know. And I was like, what? You know, I was typing back, and I said, well, what about what they're doing with the one they got right now? You know, she was like making me out like it's like some kind of trick question. You know, listen, they made this one up here, and look at what they've done with us. You know, that's what I'm saying. You know, shit, motherfucker, they already done it. Yeah, we would have to invent a God. Look at all of these gods. When's that going to stop? They want a new world order and everybody could... No, I'm going to figure this out. The world, the pot's so stirred up now, you know, nobody cares about the truth. Nobody wants to be learning about where something came from or what something is, you know. But I'll tell you, this Islam is a revenge cult. It's just totally about revenge. It takes all of the stories and makes them like they were real. All of the prior stories. So it's really about a man that was not enlightened, and and there's a whole mess of these scriptures running around during those days. A whole mess of them that didn't make the cut. And it could help spice things up some. But in the long run, you could just hear it. You could just tell. You know, even our books were not written by guys that were sheep herders, you know, rock climbers, and fishermen. No, there were some pretty involved, scientific, very smart, intelligent linguists that put together the Old and the New Testament. And before that, it would have been something else. It's just what it was called. But whoever made scripture up that pertained to God was not no stupid fisherman that just gave up all of his life to follow this new man that's teaching everybody how to take care of themselves. And they can't see it happening. All they have to do is believe that it's happening. You know? So come on. So those two things, the Old and the New Testament is a refinement of this idea of going inside to find this thing and to disconnect from the outside world. Enoch. These stories are about if you don't learn how to mine for gold, you're going to ruin the world around you. And that's what they were doing. Remember, they made man so that man could go around and mine for gold, and they got gold all over the place, you know, big holes, you know, and it was ancient. That must be Solomon's mines, you know, or good God, you know. Do you know how many resets we've probably had through the years, through the thousands of years, you know, because some woman dug up a regular human skull in stratus or in place in the earth that was, you know, 300 million years ago. So, you know, my mind is open enough to believe that our world has held many worlds. You know, and my current belief is that every time we get up off of our knees, we run across this damn Bible somewhere. It's like, poof, there it is. You know, and it's just a shame, you know. Just a shame. Just a shame. But in answers to that question, Islam was created to try to beat that, and it's just a shame because it's really meant to how to clean yourself out, how to learn about yourself, and it's about you. And Islam wants to destroy all of that, and that'll be an outside environment, an outside world invading again on you. With people that are already within that religion, they're born into it, so they can't do this anyways. So they're barred from this. They can never know the truth. They would never be allowed to even think about it. So while we have our freedom, and while we understand more than what our ancestors did, or what our mom and dads and brothers and sisters right now know. And believe me, I'll tell you, you know more about the Bible right now than a good number of any religious person that you have ever met, up to and including the Pope. They don't know any of this stuff, and if they did, that would make them even worse liars. And worse, taking advantage of people, of their fears, taking their money, living on top of that big old beautiful place there, making lots of money, like all these evangelists and everyone taking advantage of everybody's fears. Or on the opposite, giving a little sugar pill, hey, God wants you to come and have a great old time, enjoy things, and eat up the world and buy up everything, keep things going. Come on, you guys. So, anyways, I'm going to go back to painting after I load this up. I just thought you guys like to know what I was doing in my while I paint. Alright. Well, best to you. And love you.